Hi, I've just finished reading The Game is Murder by Hazell Ward. It's only recently come out and I was excited to pick this one up. It was in my sort of anticipated reads for August by that video. I was excited for it because it sounds like, from the premise, it's a book that puts you, the reader, in the role of the great detective, and it sort of tells you that you've got to solve the murder. So I was expecting something sort of interactive, sort of puzzles and things like, not a puzzle book, but I was expecting something more, I don't know, I was expecting, it was sort of touted as, you've got to solve this murder, that it's down to the reader, you are the great detective, you've got to do this. So I was expecting something more than I got. And I'm not sure that, for me, it really hit the mark. It's written sort of in the second person, and the narrator or the author is talking to you, the reader. You are being talked to by the narrator, by the author. And this one-sided dialogue, it does put you in the role of the detective. It's telling you what you are looking for, what you've got to do. And as the detective, you arrive at the home of David and Daniel Verriman, where you are taken to your seat at a dining table. And the purpose of this dinner party is explained, this murder mystery. Because back in 1974, when David was 11, his nanny was murdered and his mother was attacked. It sounded very Lord Lucan-ish, if you know that story. That's the sort of vibes that I got straight away from this. All the evidence points to the boy's father, Lord Verriman, who has since disappeared. You see, Lord Lucan again. And the crime has been unsolved ever since. So all the guests around the table are either suspects, witnesses, or expert witnesses, you know, the forensics, the blood spatter, or that type of thing. And your task as the great detective is to prove that Lord Verriman is innocent or guilty. You have got to weigh up the evidence and decide whether this man who never faced trial because he disappeared, whether he is guilty or innocent. And the novel goes off in different directions, and as the reader, you sort of manipulate it into the way you are to think. There seemed to be a lot of repetition. The evidence is repeated again and again. And it's a sort of homage to detective mystery literature. The characters have names of crime writers. We've got Wilkie Collins, you know, that type of thing. And in the summing up, you have got numerous references to crime novels and how the plots of the crime novels tie into this. It's very cleverly done. But there's no room for the reader to solve the crime, which is what I took from the premise, that it was, you know, you work it through and then you get the answer. That was the sort of thing I was expecting. There's no puzzle to solve. So I found it, the great detective who's, I mean, it tells the reader you are the great detective, but the great detective, there is another great detective at this dinner table. He seems a very flawed character. There's all sorts of, I know you used that it's, you get lots of repetition. You get, it's almost in 3 acts. And at one point, David Werriman is every single character. He sort of puts on glasses and is this person. He picks up a pen and is that person. And it's... I don't know. But that said, it is like nothing I've ever read before, which isn't a bad thing. You know, it is nice to sort of read something that's totally different, totally unexpected, and this is. And there's also a twist at the end. But it's about 400 pages, and I felt that was overlong. And you get the evidence repeated again and again. I don't know, for a debut novel, this author's got potential, and I would be interested to see what they do again, what their next book is. This one didn't quite hit the mark for me. The blurb led me to expect something different to what I got. And then again, I did find there was a lot of repetition in there. But it is so different to anything I've ever read before. It is worth picking it up just to experience something that is unexpected. So, I don't know, I've not explained this very well. Anyway, The Game is Murder by Hazell Ward. It's a crime, it's a mystery, it's almost like a court case that isn't a court case because it's taking place at a dinner table. You've got suspects, you've got witnesses, you've got police, you've got expert witnesses, and you've got a twist. So there's lots of elements in there that are to like. So you have to make your own mind up. But it is so different to anything you will ever have read before. So that is The Game is Murder by Hazell Ward. So happy reading. Take care.